Hey folks, Jimmy here, aka Palette the Dead. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to issue 80 of Warhammer 40k Imperium magazine. Now, as per usual with all these videos, if you like them, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course drop a comment down below. I love hearing back from you guys, and it goes a massive way to helping out the channel too. Now, obviously, we're on issue 80, the original intended endpoint to Imperium magazine, which is why we have part 2 of Roboute Guilliman, your kind of figurehead, the Primarch of the Ultramarines, our major centerpiece mini for the Space Marine range that we've been getting with the magazine. A really cool mini, I'm not going to lie. This sprue does not do it justice because obviously that is only a tiny portion of the mini. Combined with the pretty damn cool sprue from last week, we have a fantastic kit and a pretty hefty base for him as well. So obviously the idea with that base is you are sticking that down on top of it because that gives you loads of detail and makes it a proper centerpiece kit. Without that, he will look a bit boring and he wouldn't look right on that size base either. So really good stuff. Obviously with this sprue, you have the two heads, so you can choose him to have the helmet or without the helmet. Personally, without the helmet looks really nice. Entirely up to you though, it is your model at the end of the day, so do it how you will. But otherwise, a really good kit. Now, obviously, with it being a centerpiece model, there are a lot of thin, intricate pieces to it. However, do not be discouraged. Follow that how to build guide from last week and you will not have an issue. Just make sure you do. I would suggest following the instructions properly and doing sub-assemblies. If you don't do sub-assemblies, I'm not going to lie, painting him is going to be a pain in the backside. If you do the sub-assemblies, you can paint the part pieces differently, get more detail in there, get into the little nooks and crannies a little tiny bit better, and you will make a really cool kit out of it. But otherwise, let's jump into the fairly short issue that we get this week because it is mostly the painting guide. Now, obviously last week we had all of our lore about Roboute Guilliman. This week we just get a paint guide. It's fairly easy. So if you're doing all your different pieces, you'll obviously have the backpack. The idea is that you've got your different assemblies. So you've got your main body, the backpack, the back piece, which is that ornate bit of armor that kind of fits on his back, and the scenic base, as well as your heads. If you wanted, you could magnetize the heads. It is entirely up to you. I'm not going to lie, it's not going to be the easiest thing to do, but it can be done, and I know it can be done. Personally, though, make sure you're doing one of them because both of them look really good. You could go with a helmet, and he looks pretty cool. He doesn't look too bad, and he's kind of more of a faceless warrior within your ranks. If you go with head number 1, obviously without the helmet, he looks super cool, he looks very intense, and yeah, it stands out. He looks like less of a just regular faceless soldier. He looks more like a bit more of a badass. So entirely your choice, but they're really good, so not too bad at all. Obviously, if you're following the painting guide, this is going to be a doddle for you. If you haven't been following the painting guide before for the Space Marines, now is your time. Obviously, with him being a Primarch of the Ultramarines, it is very difficult to do a different colour scheme for him unless you have taken off the Ultramarine iconography. Now, I'm not going to lie, I would love to remove the Ultramarine iconography from him. However, it is not going to be easy, so I will not be doing it. I will be following the paint guide, and I may even share a video on how to do that, of going through the paint guide as we go. I'm not too sure of it though, but if you'd like to see it, obviously just let me know in the comments. But otherwise, he's a pretty cool kit, very easily painted. Now obviously you're going to be utilising every technique you have learnt throughout the course of this magazine. So obviously layering up with MacLeod blue for your base coats, using Nuln oil over everything to get all them nooks and crannies, add some depth to the colour, and so it's not just one boring flat colour, and then layering back over with MacLeod blue, a bit of a bad and black on the cog symbol, and then your lead belcher, and much more, and your retributed armor, your Rakkar flesh for those kind of scroll areas, your purity seals with Screamer pink, Korax white, much more. It's a nice paint job. You can do a really good bit of kit with it. Make sure you have a nice clean brush. Make sure you are emptying your pot of water between all your metallics though, because if you're going from metallic to normal paint, you don't want any metallic flakes from that paint in your other colours, because otherwise it will look terrible, and you might get some really horrible bitty colours if you're not careful. Otherwise though, it's fairly straightforward. There's a lot to it though. There are a lot of little steps here and there going through everything. You are utilising the vast majority of the paints that you will have been given over time, and a lot of cool techniques as well, utilising everything from Calgar Blue, from Reichland Flex Shade, Pallid Witch Flesh, Pink Horror, Wild Rider Red, the entire lot. You have loads of stuff. It even teaches you how to do a flaming sword. So for the Emperor sword, obviously it's on fire. Fire is a pain to paint, I'm not going to lie to you. It can be an absolute pain in the backside. However, if you are thinning down your paint, you can use them like glazes and shades, which makes it look really good. You can, if you want to, use contrast paint, entirely up to you. I personally do like the way they've done this, because they've used Trollslayer Orange, Mephiston Red as like washes instead of just slapped on to the mini, and the sword will look pretty good when you're going over it. You just pick out all your detail and you'll get a really nice paint job. Just take your time with it, do not rush it, because if you rush it, it will go a bit horrible and you don't want that. Now, the one thing I will disagree with this whole paint scheme is using Tesseract Glow for the leaves and the wreath around his head. I don't like it. I think it looks wrong and it doesn't look very good. If you want to, you can get better colour greens. So for instance, with Stormbringer magazine we had Auric Flesh. Using Auric Flesh would look better than a Tesseract Glow on this mini. Now, I find with Tesseract Glow it goes a bit glossy from time to time, and my one has gone glossy and it doesn't look very good. So I will use Auric Flesh on that wreath, and I will use Colia Green Shade to shade in with it and get that depth to it. You can use a green contrast paint if you wish to, entirely up to you though. Now, one other thing I'm going to say is painting eyes is very difficult to do, so make sure you have a very good tip on your brush to get the eyes, because yeah, generally it's not fun. I absolutely hate painting eyes. Painting eyes on minis is a challenge in itself, and not one that should be taken very lightly, but otherwise you're going to get a really good kit out of it. Once you painted all the sub-assemblies, obviously you're going to get to put it all together, which is going to be the main thing. And obviously painting that base, you can do it how you will, so you can have your Chaos Warrior that's fallen in front of his feet however you want to. You can make him look really good, you can make it look different, you can go for different colour schemes. So for instance, you could go, instead of a black armour, you could go for World Terrors or World Eaters or anything like that. You could go with a shade of blue if you wanted to, you could go with green, you could go with anything you want to. Either way, have a bit of fun with it, and you're going to enjoy yourself. Now, one thing I will say, with obviously putting your base, that scenic base, on that bigger base, it doesn't fill all them gaps. So as they even say here, use your Astro Granite, because you'll fill in all them gaps. It blends it in with the rest of the mini and makes it look pretty damn good. So not bad at all. But otherwise, you're going to have a really good fun bit. Obviously there's more fire to paint up for it. As I say, when I say there's a lot of steps to this, there's a lot of steps. So plan it out, have a good read through it, see what colours you're going to need when and where. And the best thing to do is, while one side is drying, so for instance while his body is drying, you could paint up the base. So you could paint the gold areas on the base if you wanted to, and it will make it far better for you. The one thing I don't like about the brazier is the kind of colour of the metal. I think them braziers could look better if you darken them down a little bit so they look like they're scorched. But otherwise, pretty cool. It's not too bad. When it's done, you should have something looking kind of similar to that, if not exactly that, or even far better. Who knows? But otherwise, a pretty cool mini. Generally really nice to paint. Yeah, a lot to it. So have a bit of fun. Now, finally moving on from the painting guide that's gone on forever, and it feels like a bit of a ramble. You have your data sheet for Roboute Guilliman. He has some pretty cool stats to him. So he is obviously pretty tough, and he is a noble. He is the Imperium. He has his faction keywords of Adeptus Astartes, Ultramarines, Imperium. He is a character, a monster, Primarch, and he has the keyword of Roboute Guilliman. He has his own unique abilities as well, so, and he has a command detachment that you can utilise. He is pretty damn cool, so not bad. So you can only take Guilliman's command detachment in 75 and 100 power veteran missions when you're playing. It takes 3 command points, but really good stuff. You get your tutorial of how to use his abilities, and he's the fact that he's a Lord of War as well. And then finally, we have our first playthrough with him. So a pretty cool one. You are using 100 power, and it is dual beneath the gate, should I say. Pretty cool, not bad. So you're using less battlefield. So you're using battle mats issues 4, 8 and 58, and you can also utilize battle mat 01 for part of it as well. Have a bit of fun, enjoy it, and it's going to be really good fun. You do also obviously get a little bit more information about everything. So next week we're going to get some other bits and pieces. So we're going to get the Paragon war suits from next week, for going from issues 81 to 83. Paragon war suits from the Adeptus Sororitas range were pretty cool. I like them. New missions, we have new information, we have paint and build articles, we have a little bit of everything. We have new stories coming, we have new Necrons coming, we have good old Redemptor Dreadnought, which will be really cool. Yeah, a lot of stuff to look forward to, even in our last 10 issues. So really good stuff. And with that said, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you sometime soon. Bye bye now.